Welcome everybody, this is Brother Mean here. Today we're going to show you another Oracle build. Let me set my little stopwatch timer here so I don't go too terribly long again, because I'm getting kind of tired of you guys having to watch 2-hour videos. So this is a pre-generated character already up to 20. We have her or him, can't remember, kitted out already with gear. So we are using, of course, mods to make this character. Yeah, it's a her. Okay, so this is the Dragon excuse me, the Dragon Mystery, there we go, for Oracle. It is a little different, has a at first initial feel of being very similar to the Draconic Bloodline from Elder Scion slash the Sorcerer build, but only tangentially. I mean, it's really not remotely the same thing. So let's actually look at the free spells, for instance, to talk about this. So again, you have Cause Fear, Resist Energy, Fly, Fear, Spell Resistance, Dispel Greater Dispel Magic, True Seeing, and of course the higher ones of Dragonkind 3 and Overwhelming Presence. And again, these three would normally be hidden behind a wall of stuff you wouldn't have access to as a Elder Scion, for instance. True Seeing being an exception to the rule, because even though it's level 7 here, for an Elder Scion, then get it at level 6. I made this one a Seeker build. I'm not a fan of it, but I wanted to show it to you. The Seeker build has some things that are pretty interesting in it. First off, know that you're going to get stuff like only 4 of your mystery revelations. Okay, so instead of the 6 that everyone else gets, you only get 4. Again, you can pick up more, as we have done up here with extra feats. I don't recommend that because, again, many times you're going to want more than 4, and that burns up feats that are precious for most builds. However, I did so just again to demonstrate. Notice they have Tinkering, a nice little bonus here to perception checks. And again, that will be illustrated when we go over here and look at the fact that you have a massive bonus thanks to Tinkering. Again, half your caster level, equal to minimum, of 1. Notice that, again, we have other bonuses as well coming from Dragon Senses, our sword that we're wielding. I went longsword for this build and a strength-based build at that. But this is a solid, amazing perception, I mean, quite frankly. And that's without having to cast a spell. And remember, we have access to spells that allows you to even jack that up even more. Highly recommend you do so. But this is not a solo build. Notice something else that shows up here. Seeker Lore. But basically very skilled in the spells that they get, the bonus spells. That's these guys here. Notice this part here. They gain a +4 bonus on all concentration checks, on caster level checks made to overcome spell resistance with their bonus spells. Now that's not great for the dragon build because there's not a whole lot of spells that have a check. Cause Fear does, but that's lame and rapidly outlevel the usefulness of it. Fear does, and again that's a good one, and you will keep it for all time. I don't think it does you any bit of good for Greater Dispel Magic. I don't think spell resistance is applicable for that one. And then from there, the only other one that would be on the list would be Overwhelming Presence, way the hell down here. So that's really like 2 spells early and then 2 spells at the end. So, it's not amazing for this. This would be a better build, in my opinion, for those that got free spells for, say, like the Fire build. Because, again, the ability to spell Pin, that's basically a big solid bonus for you. Basically, again, a solid +4 spell penetration. That is the equivalent of Spell Pen and Greater Spell Pen. That's 2 feats right there. Then basically is what we're saying. Not to count even the concentration bonus that you're getting as well. Then way the hell down here, you're going to get Seeker Magic. And this one, again, is another little weird one. Literally, the spells that were granted as part of our mystery, again, these ones down here, if you apply Meta Magic to just these spells, you actually can apply it with a 1 less penalty. So for something like, it gives you examples here, the Quicken spell is always +4 higher. So a level 1 spell, for instance, that you quicken, instead of being level 1, it would be level 5, so 1 + 4. This would be 1 + 3 because of this, but again, only for these spells here. So again, unless you're actually buffing, or you're using meta magics, I should say, on these spells, you're really not getting any benefit out of this. So again, there's a variety of ways we can buff these that have nothing to do with your, empowered, your maximized, your typical meta magic that people naturally gravitate to, intensify, ones that up the damage. These ones can all be either extended in many cases, reached for some cases. Since we're Cold Dragon, I had to pick a dragon type, so I went Cold Dragon. I went for 2 different meta magics. I went for Extend for buffs and Rhyme for any cold spells that we have. It's only a +1 bonus to the level of it, but it does allow us to basically entangle people with some cold spells. So I figured, what the hell. But if I were to do it again, I probably wouldn't pick Rhyme. I'd pick probably Intensify or something else that would benefit some of these other spells. But Extend works for just about everything on this list. I think everything on this list, with the exception of Greater Dispel Magic, has a duration. So again, a solid buff. And again, you cannot, I don't believe, buff with Meta Magic Overwhelming Presence because it is level 9. As such, there's no bonus that you can put on it. Literally, even if there's a -1 penalty and a +1 penalty, or sorry, a -1 buff and a +1 penalty from, say, something like Extend Meta Magic, okay? Something that should be able to go on this one. It would go from level 9 to level 10, then back to level 9 because of this ability, right? You would think, anyway. But because it initially goes over level 9, the game will not allow you to slot it. So all the level 9 spells, that's it. That's all you're going to get. And there might be an exception to the rule on this if you do like Spell Perfection, perhaps, but I don't even think so on that one. So that's a lot of investment. Like, you have to have 3 Meta Magic feats and a spell focus, and it gets real fiddly. So I would probably shy away from ever thinking that you're going to buff this one. So basically everything down the list, you know, from level 1 all the way to level 8. And there's still plenty to play with there. And again, I don't mind extending them and getting the double duration for free. That is perfectly fine. It has nothing to do with the duration of casting it, though. That's the downside on this. So again, we are still a spontaneous caster. So when you extend these spells, any spell, as a spontaneous caster, it takes a full combat round now for you to cast it. Now, that's not that big a deal for the ones that are buffs, you know, the ones that you're going to want to cast on yourself ahead of time. But the ones that are going to be like attack spells, like Cause, Fear, or, again, Overwhelming Presence, which you can't buff, that's a straight bummer, because you really can't cast those effectively in combat without staying damn near stationary. You can still get to your 5-foot movement and still get a full combat turn, so that would still be allowed. But that's bare minimum. So it literally allows you, if they're like up and in your face, allows you to do a stutter step back and then blast them in a better cone. That'd be how I would use that. But, and again, it doesn't much matter at that point, because if you're really not wasting, if you're using your combat round to cast a spell, who cares if you cast the spell and get the chance to move 30 feet away afterwards? It's kind of ridiculous. You're more likely to cast a spell and then walk away. So again, that 5-foot stutter step is probably good enough to accomplish what you really want. But, again, I'm not a big fan, as you can tell, of the Seeker build. Notice for our curse, we went Covetous. I figured, well, you're a dragon, or dragon-like, and why not be someone that hoards money? Notice this one, by default, is a very nice curse, in that it, by default, gives you Use Magic Device as a class skill. A little green check mark, right off the bat. Notice that you have to have money, otherwise you are sickened. So literally at the very first level, you will be puking your guts out. You'll be at like a -2 to your strength and dex, or no, I'm sorry, that's a fatigue. You're -2 to your attacks as your damage and your skills and all kinds of other stuff. So start saving money, basically. But by the time you get to old legs and sell everything off, you'll have more than enough to overcome this. Just always keep money on hand. It's always the same problem. Notice this curse opens up other things later on. An insight bonus to Use Magic Device +4. Then, a very cool feature here. You can actually, at level 10, use your Use Magic Device skill to identify items, which I always thought was a thing until, of course, Knowledge Arcana come along. I always thought the Use Magic Device was for that purpose alone. So it was kind of surprising that this wasn't a thing. I mean, I've always known that it's Knowledge Arcana, but it's one of those where it does sound right, doesn't it? So the fact that this is built into this particular curse is actually kind of cool. So I actually am a big fan of this curse. Notice this other one, and it's something we don't really benefit at all from on a strength-based build. But on a dex-based build, this could be soups fun, in my opinion, Covetous. Because you get a level 15, you get yourself a +4 insight bonus to Trickery, something that we've invested in, but just enough to basically unlock it. And again, really nothing to write home about here. But, again, put on some gear, buff up with dexterity spells and stuff, and you can actually push this up to a respectable better number than this +12 that you're seeing. But it's not going to be like Knock Knock, who's got like a 30 or something ridiculous. But again, for a dex-based build proper, doing it the other way and investing in this, that's how I'd probably take this Seeker build. It would be someone that would focus on Use Magic Device and Trickery, which again, there's nothing wrong with that. It just didn't fit. And of course, it would also be something that I'd only really wanted like 4 to 6 of the Revelations, because 4 down here and then maybe 2 more I could invest in and not feel horrible about. Honestly, Dragon's not that bad for only picking 6, quite frankly. So let's look at the mysteries, what they get for Revelations. Notice that you get Perception and Knowledge Arcana as class skills, but you'll notice that we actually don't get any of this, so this one's actually broken. It does not unlock those things for you. Perception, we actually used a trait, I believe, to unlock this one. Actually, no, we didn't. We didn't even unlock it. Wow, look at that. So we had perception is 39 without unlocking it. It's not a class skill, doesn't have the little green check mark on it. Wow, that's horrible. But look at the buffs that we can have here for Revelations. Breath Weapon, not amazing as you'll see. Dragon Magic's not bad, and again, I did pick that one up very late in the build for a good reason. Dragon Senses are decent. That's one of the reasons we have our perception so damn high. Form of the Dragon is nice. That's the one that allows you to do Dragonkind 1 as a spell-like ability, or supernatural ability, I can't remember which, but at a certain level, and then it progresses from level 1 to level 2 version of Dragonkind, then from level 2 to level 3. Now the fun part is, I think all of those forms, instead of being a 1 minute per caster level, because it's a supernatural ability or your special ability, that's 10 minutes per caster level initially. Then, at the very end, when you get Dragonkind 3, they offer you the ability to cast even Dragonkind 1 once a day, but it's an hour-long buff per caster level instead of 10-minute buff. Now, honestly, you could do that, I suppose, but really, realistically, why would you? I mean, you have Dragonkind 3 sitting there, and it's going to last you for like 150 minutes or longer. Why would you take the weaker form? Just because it lasts you for, 15 hours to 20 hours versus, 150 to 200 minutes? Almost every dungeon you're going to come across, 200 minutes is more than enough to clear it, I'd say. So I'm not worried about taking the lesser form. I mean, it's nice that they offered it, but it's still kind of what the hell. Presence of the Dragons, we've picked this one up. This one really allows you to, invoke your dragon heritage, if you will, and scare the shit out of everyone in a big hogging circle. This is a shaken effect. Multiple times a day you can use it. And again, since we're going strength-based build, I'm not doing the Dreadful Carnage, but I am doing the Corrosion Smash and Shatter Defenses, I think. Actually, did I do that? Yeah, I did Shatter Defenses. Honestly, I can't remember. But it's a solid way then to set that up, and that's this guy right here. So again, it's a decent one, and I don't mind it. It's alright. Scale Toughness, I think is one that I did not pick. Yeah, because I got Draconic Resistances, which is different. That's down here. Scale Toughness is a clickable. I want to say a couple times a day, max. You can have extra DR10/magic or something. So it's kind of like Stone Skin, but not really. It doesn't last very long, and it was one of those where it's like only twice a day, really? So it seemed kind of meh to me. But maybe your mileage may vary on that one. Tail Swipe, garbage. You don't see it, for one. I mean, I know that's not a reason for not picking it, but there's no tail that actually shows up. Supposedly you have a Draconic tail, and it allows you to balance better, and because of that, I think it gives you like an extra attack or two of opportunity. So if the attacks of opportunity are somehow part of your build, this would be very useful. I never worry about those things. Wings of the Dragon, again, dragon wings, nothing really fancy here. You have Fly. They give it to you for free. Why the hell would you need this? Yeah, it doesn't last long. It's like a minute per caster level, but so what? While these are permanent, these are not. I don't mind casting it multiple times in a fight, in a dungeon or a day. And we have, of course, access to Airwalk still in our build. So again, while these ones are great because of the speed boost, the other one's great because of all the other stuff it still gives you, just like this, and it lasts longer. So I am not a fan of Wings of the Dragon. I passed on that one. Draconic Resistances, on the other hand, is basically this guy here. A solid buff to your armor. Now again, I picked it very late in the build because, again, I don't have many choices up here. But I picked it very late in the build. +1 to natural armor steadily goes up to +4. Again, this feels very similar again to the Draconic Resistances you get for the Draconic Bloodline for a Sorcerer or Elder Scion. Eventually you get immunity, way the hell down here, to the element of choice that has nothing to do with this. But until that time, why not have yourself a DR5 against cold, or a DR10, or a DR20, as it progresses. So again, free protection, and while colds may not be the most useful, fire is already a build that I showed you, so I didn't really feel like doing another fire dragon to compare it with the the flame mystery bloodline, or oracle background. So, but I did like this, and I mean, the natural armor bonus stacks, which is nice, and again, I'll happily take that. Having said that, the last one, Talons of the Dragon, just complete piss. This is the one that, again, if you played the Sorcerer Bloodline, the Draconic Bloodlines, or the Elder Scion Draconic Bloodlines, it's the same innate ability you get, where you literally can form claws from your hands, and you get an extra attack around at like a solid -5 penalty. It's not bad, but it's one of those where you only get it for like a number of rounds a day equal like your charisma level or bonus plus like 3 or some shit like that. So you get it for like maybe 10, 12 rounds a day. Ring a ding ding. Who gives a shit? So yeah, it upgrades, and yeah, it suddenly becomes a magic weapon, and then it suddenly does the damage of choice as well. So physical damage, and then suddenly cold damage gets tacked onto it, or acid, or fire, or electric, depending what type of dragon you picked. But it's still garbage. And I just can't imagine anyone realistically wanting this. There are mods I have heard, for those of you interested though, there are mods that I have heard where people have made this, and feats like this, or abilities I should say, like this, where they're permanent. So once you have it, you can just activate it, and it's just on. Which, to me, as a dungeon master, I would have totally allowed. I mean, it's not OP by any stretch of the imagination. You steadily build up into it. So again, I'm not thinking like, oh my god, it's going to ruin my game. Nah, fuck that shit. You're dragon, or part dragon. Grow some claws, man. Rip some throats out. It's all good. It's not like going to replace your weapon of choice, probably. So, hey, I would totally allow it. But everybody's different. But that's my take on basically all the revelations there. Now, let's talk about our build first. We have a strength started of 16, a dex of 12, con of 12, intelligence of 12, wisdom 8, charisma of 19, pushed all 5 points in it to get it all the way to 24 by the end of the build. You'll notice that we are an ASMR, not human. And again, that's just to try something different. I'm not a big fan of this, but it wasn't the worst idea ever. Know that because you are an ASMR, you have your light halo, so we get a bonus to saves against blinded and dazzled. Leave that on all the time. Celestial resistances, you already have acid, cold, and electric protection already. Again, another reason that fire would have been a pretty good choice for a dragon, in my opinion, because you would have had 5, 5, and 5, 5 across the board for all 4 of those elemental types, at least at the beginning. We went the weird Constitution Charisma one. This is why your Constitution is 12 instead of your strength being, say, 18. Maybe that was wrong, but I wanted to try something different, and I did like the Lore Nature bonus. Not that we invested in it, but just like the idea, and I like this bonus to Perception, as well as the Summon Nature's Ally 3 spell once a day. And the reason I like that is because we picked a trait up that allowed us to mimic something that the, let's say it wrong, Tieflings get. Tieflings get, like you, a special ability. As a Celestial, you get a special once a day use power, like this one. Now, some of those spells, or once a day use powers, can be like a ray spell, or in like this case, a summon, or a buff of some kind. If you go for that specific trait, which I'll show you in a moment, it allows you to double the duration of that buff. So in this case, pets that are out for 1 round per caster level, or character level, excuse me, because it has nothing to do with you being a caster. It has everything with you doing to do with you being an ASMR. That's level 1 through 20. But for 1 round per ASMR level, doubling that duration was actually pretty appealing. And again, the fact that you have Nature's Allied level 3 right at level 1 at the beginning never gets any better, never gets any worse. So again, it's helpful. So I figure, what the hell. And again, knows that again, you can make a leopard show up, giant frogs, a bunch of them, or a crap ton of mites. And while these little mites may not be anything to write home about compared to some leopard damage, these guys, remember, they have innate cold iron damage reduction, DR slash something slash cold iron. So unless they have a cold iron weapon, they're always absorbing at least some of the damage because of their damage reduction, which is something. And again, there are a lot of them, so it does help flood the battlefield with pets on your side. So I was pretty happy with that. Notice that, again, Con Charisma was a solid upgrade for you. And other than that, I mean, really the only thing to talk about was the fact that I could have, and I did not do it, at level 10 on up. If you have a feat that you can spare, you can get wings as an ASMR. I did not do so. You can do it. But again, with us having fly, we already met the requirement I wanted. And with airwalk, which is better as far as duration, but worse, and that doesn't give you a speed bonus, I figured, who cares? Between those two, I have what I want. So I'm not going to burn another feat on that. And again, I could have just as easily have grabbed the damn draconic wings, but I don't believe that those ever become permanent either. They have durations as well, like 1 minute increments or some such that you get to use. So again, it's one of those where it's like, if they ever got to the point where it's like at level 17 on up, they were permanent, well then maybe that would have been something of merit. But yeah, feat-wise, or skill-wise, notice we have 1 point in athletics, nothing amazing. You notice that we have armor on. It's a strength-based build, so armor is going to be an issue for you. So we're going to have armor penalties. Of course, you're going to want that effortless armor ability if you can get it. Notice that we have a solid persuasion with only 13 ranks in it. We're still rocking a solid 31 here. And that's mostly because of our high charisma. Nothing in Knowledge Arcana, so again, don't even count that +4. It's basically nothing. Knowledge World, on the other hand, is doing really well, and that's only with 13 ranks invested in it. Again, we use that same trick where instead of using our intelligence modifier, we're using our charisma modifier. And again, look at that difference. +2 versus +13. That's another 11 added to that simply because we switched it. And that is another trait. So again, definitely worth in my opinion. Again, Lower Nature, we would have had a bonus to it. As you can see, that racial bonus. The inherent bonus from our sword, of course, too, and our whatever wisdom we could slot in there, but we didn't even put a rank in there. So again, there's no training in it, so again, it's nothing. Lower Religion, on the other hand, got a solid 17 ranks in it, and it's straight up piss. Yeah, it's +23. It's still okay, but again, if you're not rocking at 25 or 30 by the end of your build, it's probably not the best ability or skill for you. Mobility, straight up garbage. We even invested 3 ranks in it, but because it's not a class skill, we don't get any extra +4 points there for putting, +3 points for putting a class skill point in there. So this is lackluster in my opinion. Again, with the spell, we could buff that all the way up to a 19. That's not bad. With some other spells that buff our dexterity, we can probably get that to a solid 20, 21, maybe if you're lucky at 22, but it's unlikely to be that much higher. And again, it's not as impressive as the dex-based builds, so it's there, but whatever. Perception, on the other hand, is crushing it. And again, even without the sword, that's a +2 to all our skills. Even without the sword, you got a racial bonus for being an ASMR, +4 bonus for your dragon senses, +10 bonus from our tinkering, and we can still cast that spell on ourselves. That Find Trap spell, that's just a flat bonus to perception again as well. +1 for every 2 caster levels, minimum of +1. So at level 20, you can get another 10 on here for long periods of time. That's like 49 perception, man. There's very few builds that I ever make that have a perception that high. And there's some that I went skill monkey and went kind of crazy with, like perception, persuasion, and trickery, for instance, and use magic device. And even on those, I don't think I ever pushed a perception that was this goddamn close. So this is a solid upgrade. Just saying. Stealth, don't have to have skill in it, which is thank God because we suck at it. But again, we didn't invest in it. Trickery, again, I put a point in it just to show you the bonus from the Insight, the Covetous, the +4. Again, the number would have been on here. You would have seen 11 instead of 12. But again, you need training in it. That's why you needed at least 1 rank to at least benefit from this. And again, I would probably put this more on a dex-based build, and to be honest. Use Magic Device, though, again, with our Covetous. Again, the curse that we have. The solid bonus to use Magic Device, and because of that curse, again, it's got a class skill. So +3, a little green check mark next to it right at level 1. So that's decent. That's literally a solid +7 to this skill. We only invested 5 ranks in it. We're looking at a solid 27 here. And that's not amazing, but again, with a spell or two like Heroism or Greater Heroism or something else that buffs your skills in some other way, you could have a solid upgrade to this and have it be a solid 30 or more. And I still maintain that that's a solid skill rank at that point. Notice, of course, our BAB for purist build is a +15. Strength-based build, so again, we're swinging pretty hard. Notice, of course, we'll be using things like power attack as well. Now let's look at our abilities as we picked them, as we leveled up. Now, of course, remember you got medium armor, light armor, simple weapon proficiency, and shield proficiency, but not tower shield right off the bat, as every oracle does. We are not human, and therefore we only have 1 feat. So, of course, we did spell vulnerability and picked 2 feats right off the bat. Martial weapons being 1, so I could swing a sword, a long sword in our case, and power attack right off the bat. I figured, why the hell not? Now, honestly, if I were to swap these around again, I probably would have. No, matter of fact, I couldn't have. That's why weapon focus, you need like a BAB of 1 to get weapon focus, I think. If you can switch these around, though, I highly recommend you do so. Grab weapon focus, longsword first, if you can. But I don't think you can. On that, though, again, let's look at the traits that we picked. Of course, we went with cure spells to do something different. Again, why not be a dragon that heals everybody? So we went with our cure spells, of course. 3 skill ranks, and because we're basically half human, we were allowed to pick free spells from level 4 on up, which we, of course, did so at every opportunity. That's why you only see a bonus to 3 skill ranks, and that's also one of the reasons that our skills are just not very good, because we missed out on 17 skill points that we could have put in very useful things, like trickery, like Lord Nature, or getting Knowledge Arcana a little bit of bump. Athletics, again, it's a strength-based build. 17 more to that would have been a solid athletics score. Just saying, there's all kinds of ways that we could have made this better. But I like the free spells. So again, kind of on you on that one. But We've already talked about our curse as our mystery, but let's talk about the curse we took, or not the curse, our penalties that we took to get our traits. So you see we took envy right off the bat. Why this one? Well, you already have the one curse that's going to be a money-related curse. So a concentration penalty is not going to be the end-all, be-all of your existence either. The goal is not be cursed at all. So make sure you have money. This goes away. So does the other penalty curse for being sickened, basically by not having enough cash on hand. So this is a solid upgrade in my opinion. Social trait, that's the one where we get the prolonged magic for being a tiefling. Again, whenever you use a spell-like ability gained through your tiefling heritage, it automatically acts as if affected by the extend spell meta magic feat. I have yet to officially test this, but it should work on those pets that we have for being an ASMR. I'm assuming that's what that means. Otherwise, why give that to you as a possibility? That's just a dumb idea. Family heirloom went for longsword, obviously. There was other choices. Remember, we have martial weapon proficiency as a feat pick at level 1, and therefore anything that falls in that purview would be to your benefit. Sadly, I don't think there's a weapon that the ASMR get as an exotic weapon that's considered a martial weapon if you're an ASMR, much like we saw with the elf or the halfling, where the halfling can use the sling staff and the elves can use like elven curved blades. Even though those are exotic, they're not exotic to those races. I don't think the ASMR have something like this. If anyone knows different, please let us know. It'd be useful information for anybody. If it was like a glaive or something, that would be amazeballs. I would love to grab a glaive. But I don't think a martial weapon gets access to those. I could be mistaken on that. But, let's see, maybe it will tell me if I click on it. No. But, again, it's a solid choice for a longsword. There's plenty in the game, and I don't mind grabbing a longsword. And I figured, you know, dragon, why not sword and board it? You know what I mean? Now, if I had my choice, again, glaive would have been a solid choice. A long spear would have been a decent one. I don't mind two-handed weapons because, again, it's on a strength-based build. You'd rather probably use it two-handed anyway to get the solid damage. The good news is, though, you can use your longsword two-handed so long as you don't have a shield. So just, you know, your power attack goes up. Sadly, you don't get the extra bonus, I don't think, from strength like you would for two-handed wielding. You know, like a quarterstaff, instead of +9 damage from strength, if it's a two-handed weapon by default, that +9 actually goes up by 50% more. So 4.5 rounded down, so that would be a solid 13 from strength alone for damage. Just saying, the two-handed weapons are awesome for a reason. I think longsword gets the bonus, but the only reason it gets a bonus is because power attack allows you to add more. So when you see the number go up, it's because I took my sword, left my sword on, and took my shield off. So I'm using the one-handed sword as a two-handed weapon, which you can do with a longsword. So I'm okay with that. But again, I sword and boarded it up for good reasons. We have really good shields, and I figure why not. As far as the penalty that we took for spell vulnerability, just to backtrack a little bit here, because my shield reminded me of it, I took a penalty at -4 to a specific school. Well, you are a cold dragon type, so the only thing that does fire damage, sadly, is evocation school. So I actually took a -4 penalty to evocation and susceptible to fire, which most people wouldn't do. I like themes. I go thematic all the time. But this is because I also knew that I had access to the shield. Now, I may not get it early, but this is a bonus to the evocation school saving throw, +4. So it neuters the penalty for 1, as far as that's concerned. And then we'll, of course, buff up with stuff to protect us from fire, so I'm not worried about that. It's the most common damage out there, elemental speaking. Probably electric or acid being the second best. So, again, I don't mind just buffing up for fire protection. But again, thematic. I was all about thematic. For a campaign trait, the last trait we picked up at level 1 was Nobleborn, and again, Ladavka, so we could have a snowball spell. Again, I figured you're doing cold damage, or should be doing cold damage as a cold type dragon. Why not get snowball for free? We get a bonus to athletics as well, and again, you probably saw that over here. Yeah, the trait +2 noble family. Again, with 1 rank invested in it, at least it helps, but it's still kind of garbage. But again, I figured that was kind of cool. And I like the snowball. And weirdly, the snowball's behaving oddly. And I'll show you that when we get to our spell book. But then we picked, of course, Dragon Senses right off the bat. I figured why not have Perception high right from the get-go. As far as our input here for our revelations, we went Dragon Senses first, then Breath Weapon, which in this case is a Cone of Cold. If the dragon type that you picked has, because again, they don't pick an actual, you know, like a white dragon or a blue dragon or anything like that. You just pick an element. So fire, cold, acid, electric. If the dragons in the game have access to more than 1 type, What do I mean by that? So for example, fire dragons, there's ones that do a cone, and there's a different kind that does a beam. So kind of like lightning bolt, where it's a long, narrow beam of AoE damage. If that's your choice, when you get to this, you have to pick which one you're casting. You have to say, I want the cone of fire, or I want the beam of fire, for instance. But I think cone of cold was my only choice. Just like electric dragons only have a beam, I believe. Or no, maybe it's acid. I can never remember. There's two of them, the dragon types, that they only have one has a beam, another one only has a cone, which is the cold one, and then the other two dragon types, the two element types, have both a beam or a cone. So again, know that you're going to be limited based on the type that you pick. It's not epic damage, but at least it's 1d6 instead of the 1d4 garbage that we were seeing in the fire or the flame mastery build, or mystery build, excuse me. So I do like this, at least. And then we went, of course, Presence of Dragons after Shatter Defenses, specifically so I could set this up, scaring the shit out of bad guys where they're flat-footed. And again, that's basically nothing more than being able to shaken your target. And again, AoE style sets up flat-footed. Beautiful, beautiful combo. And of course, we still have Corrigan Smash as well. But again, if you're having a hard time hitting them to begin with, then Shatter Defenses isn't going to go off, right? So that's why this is here. So you can instantly scare things. And of course, same with fear. So you can instantly scare things and therefore have the chance to smack, smack, smack with them being flat-footed. Notice that we picked up way down here the Dragon Magic, 1 spell or 2 spells, your choice. Notice why we picked it up way back here. Whenever you pick it up, it allows you to pick up, obviously you can't pick it up till like I think here, but you have to pick a spell from the Sorcerer Wizard list that's 2 levels lower than your highest spell that you can cast. Well, at this point I can cast level 9 spells. So 2 levels lower means I can pick any Sorcerer Wizard spell level 7 or on down. Just 1. Having said that, you could also have an option of picking 2 spells. So you can pick those, but they'd have to be 3 levels lower or on down. So that would be level 9 minus 3 would be level 6. I could pick any 2 spells level 1 through 6 from the Sorcerer Wizard list. And you may think, well, why not just grab 2 of those versus 1 at level 7? Aha. What did I grab at level 7 is the question you should be asking yourself. I picked Limited Wish, because of course I did. And again, there's Lesser Miracle here too. They don't really differ, so maybe this was a dumb idea. But I do like the fact that I have both of them. And it is more inclusive, I think, from these lists, at least based on the tooltips. Because again, they get really trippy for what you can access at level 6 and on down. Whereas this one here says, no, this one is not as restrictive. Maybe I shouldn't have grabbed Limited Wish. That's interesting. And this one costs Diamond Dust too. That straight up sucks. So, literally, maybe Limited Wish was a bad idea. So pick 2 spells then, I would say, from the wizard list that you know you're going to use a lot. Shield spell being a fine example. Sense Vitals is another fine example. And yes, I know those are level 1 and 2 spells, but so what? You have access to them, and you will always have access to them. And that would actually be interesting then, because I would not have to pick those up. Let's see, what was it? 3 levels lower? So that the lowest one, or the highest one, would be level 2 Sense Vitals, right? So let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Level 5 casting would be here, okay? Which means the earliest I could pick this up as Dragon Magic, I could pick it up here at level 11 and pick up those 2 spells I just listed to you. That would be Sense Vitals and Shield, level 1 and level 2 spell, and that would totally work. That's a thing. And again, I'd rather have those sooner than later, so maybe that is a better way of going now that I think about it. I have thought, for some reason I had it in my head, that the Lesser Miracle you could cast level 6 spells and on down, but the level 6 spells had to be a Cleric spell, and the level 5 and on down could be anybody. Because that's what Limited Wish does, which is the one that I picked up. Level 6, you can cast level 6 Sorcerer Wizard spells with Limited Wish, and anything level 5 on down, you can get anything you want. They're not apparently the same, so that was my mistake for not reading the tooltips. But, again, we live and learn. As far as feats are concerned, notice that once we took off our 2 first martial weapon proficiency, as well as our, what was my first one? Power attack, yes. We got our weapon focus longsword, because we needed that for dazzling display. Remember, to get Corrigan Smash, you need to have your persuasion up to at least a rank of 6, which means 6 points invested in it, not just that you have 6 total, 6 points in it by level 7, so that this is the soonest you can pick it up. Corrigan Smash, then Shatter Defenses, then Meta Magics, grab 2 of them, Extend and Rhyme. And again, if I were to do it again, since there's not very many cold spells, I would probably just straight up take this off and give myself Intensified Meta Magic. We have Snowball, again, and we got for free. You can get like Cold Ice Strike, and that's about it for cold damage spells that you have access to. Notice that we have, of course, additional traits that we picked up, and we'll show those in your moment, and of course, Form of the Dragon and Dragon Resistance is cold later on. Now, would I take all these? Again, I would take Form of the Dragon. This is a solid upgrade. Even without the fact that it sheds your armor. So still a solid upgrade. Level 3 Dragon kind, oh my god, that thing's just a beast. And again, you can buff yourself up after because you can cast spells in this form. Solid choice. This one, I would take it. I do like the extra armor. And that's the only real reason I like it. I mean, the cold resistance, I got spells at level, what is it, 4? That'll do better than that. So who gives a shit about that 5, 10, and 20? Here, which you automatically get by default at level 20, you become more draconic. You're immune to paralysis, sleep, damage of your chosen type, in this case cold. So I don't even need the cold protection. Once I get to here, I'm immune to it. But again, if you were smart, you probably would have gone Fire Dragon. It's probably the most common type of damage out there. Notice if you pick Breath Weapon, which we have, we get to use it infinitely now instead of just so many times a day, which is awesome. There is a cooldown period in between using it though, so you don't get to spam it, which is probably fair. I mean, 2 to 5 rounds in between is not that big a deal. But it does keep you from just blasting for 20 d6 of damage. But yeah, I like the build, and again, I would swap some stuff around maybe a little bit here and there as far as what type of feats I picked and when I picked them, but by and large, it'll be a solid contender for a good teammate build. This is not a solo build by any stretch of the imagination because your touch attack is straight up piss. Yes, we have ways of buffing it, but again, you're never going to shed armor and wear robes and think you're a badass in this form. If you did a 1-level monk dip, of course, your Scale Fist monk dip, you'd be rocking it. And again, a completely different spread of feats, in my opinion. But we didn't do that. That's coming later. So again, this is a solid build. And again, I'm not a fan of the Seeker. I probably would have taken this one probably straight to Oracle, so that I could get 6 of these feats here, and I'd have 2 feats back. On that, what would I get for my 2 feats if I got these back? Because again, this would be the same 6 that I picked. Would be these 2 and these 4. What would I pick for my free feats? I don't know, something that buffed my weapon. You know, something that's like, well, improved critical for longsword would not be the worst thing ever. So you don't have to worry about whether or not you have a keen weapon. We don't have the ability to make it keen, I don't think. So might as well have a good weapon that way so you have a better chance of crit. You could have grabbed Dreadful Carnage, which I did not take. Not for lack of trying, but it was one of those where I decided I really didn't need it. And I get kind of tired of doing the same Shatter Defenses, Carnage Smash, Dreadful Carnage builds every time when I do a strength-based build. So there's a little reason for that too. That's a terrible reason not to do it, but it's what I did. But again, this is a solid build. Now let's look at our spells. Again, every level for 1 through 8, you're going to see a cure spell, so just ignore that part. Again, if you didn't want the cure, you should have gone Inflict, or if you want both, you can get both. Remember, you have access to that. Notice at level 9, we have limited. I've even went out of my way to make sure that we have all the different permutations of our meta magics in here. So you'll see lots and lots of extras. We're not going to talk about them other than to point out ones, for example, that are misbehaving. This is one, for example, that's misbehaving. I have no idea why Snowball is allowing me to slot it like this. Here it is doubled. There's a +1 and another +1. This should be literally a level 3 spell. And of course I forgot, to tell you my last traits, so maybe it's under there, and that's what I'm just forgetting. Let's take a look for that. We went Hedonistic for our last physique trait, drawback. This is when we got additional traits, so we got 3 traits. Planar Savant, that's the one that gave us Knowledge World, where we could use our Charisma modifier instead of our Intelligence modifier. Highly recommend you do so. Defender of the Society, a bonus to your armor. I figured you're going to be wearing medium armor or better, right? So you might as well get a bonus to your armor class because of it. So make sure to put on some medium armor. And that's not bad. And then, of course, this one. Oh, yeah. So we didn't even get... So another thing is... the point is there's nothing here that really should have given me the bonus that you're seeing for Snowball. So why it's behaving that way, I do not know. But I'm fine with it. I'll use it. But it's broken. This here is under a category I normally tell you never to take. The Custom Trait Cheat. This is one that allows you to do extra damage with your spells, just like you were a sorcerer or a blood rager. Any damaging spell does an extra point of damage per die roll. This is the souped up version, if you will, of what you got for the Draconic Bloodline, where if you're a cold dragon, any of your cold damage gets a +1 damage per die rolled. That's what I was hoping for here. Turns out it's for every damage, which is crazy powerful. And this does exist in the pen and paper version of the game, so while it's a cheat, it's not that much of a cheat, really. And it's not game-breaking because you're not really that much of a damage dealer, so I don't mind picking it. But I did want to test it. And again, we did go a little crazy with the gear. While we don't have the robe with the extra elemental damage and ray spell stuff that we saw on the other build that I uploaded earlier today, notice that we still took the necklace, and instead of the sling staff for the fire damage, because we're not a fire person, we grabbed the hat called Frozen Shout. This is a +1 to cold damage, and it gives you the ability to cast Cone of Cold once a day as a wizard, level 11. So free damage that way. So awesome. Notice that because of that, it's taking our hat slot. That means that we didn't get the Intelligence, Wisdom, and Charisma hat. And it is the ugly-ass hat, so there's nothing I can do about that. But that means I had to get my Charisma, Intelligence, Wisdom bonuses, mostly just Charisma, somewhere else, which in this case was my cloak. Str-based Embrace. Solid, +8 Charisma, and an Energy Drain spell once a day. So we got pretty solid cloak right there. Because of that, though, that's again a +1 and a +1 for at least cold damage. +3 if you count that Blood Rager cheat that I just got as a trait. So we should be able to do +3 damage for any cold spell. And we should be able to do +2 damage for all the other ones, for fire, electric, and acid. But wait, there's more. There's also this cool ring, if you went Acid Dragon, I want to show it to you, called the Ring of Corrosion. Same general principle as the hat, but in this case it's only for acid spells. +1 damage per die roll. And again, it does stack with this, and again it does stack with the Blood Rager. So if it's an acid spell, it will also get a +3. So for cold and acid spells, I'm doing 3 extra damage per die. It's pretty cool, I thought. Of course, we got a Ring of Circumstances for obvious reasons. I took the Force Knight's Bracers because we do have armor, so I don't need the Bracers of Armor class. However, if you know you're going Dragon form, at the very least, cast yourself Mage Armor on yourself, whether it's from a wand, a scroll, potion, if you slot it up or use your Miracle or Lesser Miracle or Limited Wish spell, which would be a waste in my opinion, but if you did, at the very least you'd have a +4 to your armor, because when you turn into that dragon, you will shed the armor that we have here. It just gets absorbed into the body, you don't get to count it, so your armor class goes in the toilet. So at least get yourself a +4 from that. If not, switch this out for obviously Bracers of Armor class +8, then turn into the dragon form, because the bracers stay on the dragon form for some reason, I don't know why. So we grabbed the Physical Belt of Perfection +8, 8, and 8, because why the hell not? And again, I could have gone the Ray Beam, so I could have got the strength from here if I want the Star Soldier Gauntlets, but I said, you know what, we're going to be a cure person. Let's talk about the Blessed Hands. Just like that necklace I showed you the other day for the Flame Mystery, that's a +4 to your caster level for a shit ton of spells that are fire related. Here's a pair of gloves that give you a bonus to all your cure spells, as if you're 4 levels higher. So remember all those trippy dippy weird healing spells that are like, oh, you could heal 48 + 20. Okay, well what about when you go here to level 8 and do the AoE version? It's 48 + 40. How the hell do you get 40 caster levels? Well, you can't in this game. So this will at least get you up to like a 24, maybe a 25, depending on what kind of rod you have in your belt. So that's still something, and I figured that'd be kind of cool. That's not the best reason to put those gloves on, but I figured if you are the caster, why not be the cool one that has better chances to heal for more damage. Honestly, this should be on the life build, though. The one that I already uploaded again for you guys, the life mystery one. That one was amazing, by the way. I was very, very fond of that build. But this one's still solid. Notice I have my Rod of Flaming Vengeance, but you really should take that off, because remember, well, it's a nice evocation bump for your DC checks and a nice +1 to all your spells that you're casting on yourself. Every damage turns into fire damage, and again, you're getting a bonus for cold damage 3 different ways. You're getting a damage bonus to acid damage 3 different ways. You're getting a bonus to fire and electric damage only 2 different ways. So this would lessen your damage if you actually equip that. Not by leaps and bounds, but again, a +15 is a +15, man. So spell-wise, again, Snowball's Misbehaving, don't know why. Shield of Faith, Bless, Cause Fear for free. Divine Favor, Bane. Notice that some of these, by the way, remember the 2 meta magics I have, one is for extended duration, and the other is for Rhyme. That's the one where if it's a cold spell, does cold damage, I should say. It doesn't even have to be a cold spell. It just has to do cold damage, I believe. If it does cold damage and there's a DC check, they're basically, the DC check also dictates whether they've been entangled, if I'm understanding it correctly. So that literally allows you to lock up targets with nothing more than a snowball spell. If you have Rhyme, which is the blue one, yellow is my color coding for extended duration. So the blue ones or the green ones, which of course are both, like you're seeing here, have both of the meta magics applied to them. Again, applies that principle. But for some reason, because these Rhyme meta magics are weird, just like the intensified ones, that's why you're seeing no actual picture here other than the big white dot. Some of the spells say, oh yeah, I can totally take Rhyme. No, you can't. You're Cause Fear. You don't even do cold damage, man. So same with like Cure Light Wounds. You can't extend that shit. So the one that it's telling you it can take is Rhyme, and there's no way that that works. That's, if it does, it's broken, and I would not slot it that way. Just to be clear. So again, be real careful on those ones. But Bane for debuffing, Divine Favor, Bless for buffing, same with Shield of Faith. Cause Fear, garbage after like a certain level, because they have a specific HD cap to it. But until that time, extremely valuable. And again, even if it's for one round, I do like that effect, where like, even if they make their save, they're at least shaken for one round. That is beneficial. So, okay, it's only one target though. We picked up, of course, Unbreakable Heart, Doom, Remove Sickness, Resist Energy was for free, and again, a nice one. Again, I swapped out as a character to get the communal versions of stuff at every opportunity. So you will see I don't have Delay Poison. I would have as I leveled up, but then again, as soon as I get Delay Poison communal, then I drop Delay Poison and keep this one, because that's good enough for me. So you'll see that a lot, but you cannot drop this one because it's for free. That's the reason it's here. Weapon Evolve for weapon upgrade. Bone Shaker, nice auto hit damage. Gotta love them. Effortless Armor, you are wearing armor. You got all the restoration spells, of course. Find Traps for, again, a solid buff to your perception. Again, another plus 10 by the end of the build. We're having an amazing perception check. Sound Burst, because why the hell not? Same with Hold Person. I just was grabbing extra stuff. This was kind of wasteful, maybe, but yeah, it is helpful. And again, at least Hold Person is nice. Sound Burst is not stellar, but AoE stuns are nice, and even if the sonic damage is kind of piss, if you manage to stun at least one guy, then it did its job, in my opinion. Of course, we have, of course, all our different meta magic versions of things. Oh, and something to point out, of course, Resist Energy was one of our free spells as we leveled up. Notice that we can meta magic it, and it's still with a 1 buff, which again is the extend, and it's still the same level. So you would never slot this, you would slot this once this became available as a level 2 spell pick, which I don't think happens till like level 15. Yeah, level 15 on up. So once you get to level 15, go through your spell book again and see which ones are actually at level 2 now, or at the proper level. For example, Cause Fear, same exact spell, except this is the extended duration. I would not put that on my list anymore, on my tray. If I thought this was useful, I put this one in my tray. These are both garbage by this point, but this one again is not. This one's good, this one's better, they're both the same spell cost to you. The only real difference again is full turn to cast it, full round. This one is the normal standard action. So there is reasons to want that one, but again, I will remember that when I'm in battle. If I know that I need to cast it and I don't want to waste my full round to do so, I'll cast a lesser version. I'll just go in my tray. Other stuff. Level 3, Delay Poison Communal, Resist Energy Communal. Just because I had the good version for myself doesn't mean I want to spam this spell 7 times on me and my fellow teammates and their pets. That's why we have this one. So again, I'll keep the good one for myself because I have no choice, but I'll give this one to the team because it's a 10-minute buff and that's good enough for me. We got Fly for free, and again, notice the extended duration one is in the same level once you get to level 15, so it's a solid upgrade. And that's a solid upgrade for duration, or for speed too. Remember, that's 60 feet movement instead of 30, unless of course you're wearing medium and heavy armor, which means we'll go down to 40. So at least we're still getting extra speed, is my point. So this is still better than Airwalk or Airwalk Communal. It doesn't last as long, but that's okay. I'll take a 20-minute to 40-minute buff. That's more than enough for me to do what I need to in an area usually. Magical Vestment, Resist Energy Communal, Animate Dead. Figure why not have more pets out. Prayer, Searing Light, Archon's Aura. This is more about the debuffing the bad guys than anything else. So I figure why the hell not. Again, if they fail their will save, they're basically at a massive penalty to their attacks and their armor and their saves. Just a nice, long-lasting AoE debuffing for the bad guys. Protection from Energy Communal, again, we had the original version and upgraded, of course. When this was upgraded, we got rid of the other one. Fears Free, and of course, as such, you'll see that it's over here as well. Death Ward, Divine Power, Freedom of Movement, Greater Magic Weapon, all solid upgrades, in my opinion. The other Restoration spell, of course. Airwalk Communal, again, the upgraded version versus the original, swapped out later. Spell Resistance, amazing buff. Bone Shatter, the best version of those two spells, because even if they make their save, they're at least fatigued. Flame Strike, Cleanse, because sometimes you just need to heal yourself, you know. Breath of Life, keep your teammates alive. I probably would have switched around the order of these, now that I think about it, because it's probably more beneficial that you keep your team on their feet. But Cleanse is definitely a solid upgrade. Vine Trap for a nice paralysis spell, much like Hold Person, but much, much better. Does damage over time. Eagle Soul, again, the reason we're lawful good for even a cold dragon, which is kind of rare. Did it because of spells like this where you have to be good to benefit from it, otherwise you have these penalties. Solid bonus to armor, solid bonus to strength. Some acid and fire protection, which is useful for you. Persuasion bonus, intimidate, again beneficial for a Corny and Smash / Shatter defense build. Nice initiative bonus, you regenerate damage, you confirm critical threats automatically on evil targets. Amazing spell. Of course, Cold Ice Strike, finally another cold spell for you to benefit from, so we could literally cast this one as a Rime, R-I-M-E, Rime spell, so the one that can entangle, I was going to say paralyze, entangle targets. So this is like a beam of web spell is the way I'm looking at it, that does damage. Because if it hits it with this Rime effect on it, they have to make a saving throw or be entangled, which is basically what web spell does. So that's solid upgrade for you in my opinion. Notice the Greater Dispel Magic, there's no meta magic currently that we have picked that we can use, so that's only one version that you have. It's okay. Again, it's free. I'm not going to complain about it, but it's still kind of garbage compared to the lesser version, just Dispel Magic. But whatever. Heal for, you are a healer. Why not or single target heal like crazy? Hellfire Ray, solid ray spell damage. Chains of Light, a different type of paralysis spell. Again, we have reflexes and conjuration upgrade versus Vine Trap, which is conjuration, reflexes. Oh, those are the same. Whole Person, on the other hand. Where do you go? Whole Person, there you go. That's the will save one. And it's an enchantment. That's what I was thinking of. Of course, Constricting Coils, which we didn't pick, but that's also something you could have done. But again, solid choice. Notice we have, of course, extended versions of Airwalk Communal. So this one, while it's 10 minutes per caster level, this is 20 minutes per caster level. It's a solid upgrade. And Bone Shatter, honestly, can be, because it has a duration, based on how long they're tired. It's not up in the tooltip up here, but it is in the tooltip down here. That's why you can extend this spell. So this is accurate. You can do that, and that's worth doing because that gives us 2 different levels to cast that spell. So that's cool. Oops. So from here, Lesser Miracle, again, Limited Wish, which is probably a wasted idea now that I think about it. True Seeing, got that one for free, so notice again we have the ability to cast an extended version of it. It's already crap at 1 minute per level, but 20 minutes is still pretty good by the end of the build. So why not turn it into 40 minutes? Nothing wrong with that. Of course, our Bestow Grace of the Champion. Amazing upgrade for you. Weirdly, it will not let us extend it. I don't know what that's about, because there is a duration. But it's an amazing spell, as you know. Greater Restoration, of course, that's the third one. Umbral Strike, solid spell. And this one can be upgraded, as you see, for duration as well as Rime. So duration here, because it does have a duration to it. And the Rime, because it does do cold damage. I believe that does work. So you have to test that for yourself to make sure they get entangled, but I'll happily cast it and to prove it to myself. Create Undead, because why the hell not? And again, since there's a duration on that one, we can of course extend that one as well, because they don't last very long. It's kind of nice to have them last a bit longer, in my opinion. Frightful Aspect, an amazing spell. Remember, this one will fall off on you if you do any polymorph spell on yourself. Cast the polymorph spell first, like Dragonkind 3, then use this one on yourself, because again, you can cast spells in that polymorph form. Then it'll buff you, and that's still good for you. Notice that we have Dragonkind 3 twice, again, because it's the free spell. The extended version, again, the normal version, 1 minute per level, 2 minutes per level now, but compared to the spell-like ability we have to turn into Dragonkind 3, That one, like I said, is I think 10 minutes per level. So that one's definitely better. But this is still good. And that one you can only use like once a day. Greater Angelus Aspect, solid buff. Shield of Law, better buff. However, it doesn't last as long. So of course, extended versions on either of those are useful. Storm Bolts and Firestorm for some different kind of damage. Again, you don't see us getting any more cold damage except for that Humble Strike, the chain, or the chain, excuse me, the Cold Ice Strike, the Humble Strike, and the Snowball spell. Those are the only 3 cold spells you officially have, except for Polar Midnight. But notice that we can't rhyme this one. Even though it says we can, we cannot, because again, it won't let you cast a level 9 spell that you've upgraded. And it won't even give us a rhyme as a choice. It should be allowed to extend it. It won't let us do it because it would bring it to level 10 and then bring it right back down to level 9. It still will not allow that, which is kind of a drag, but it's what it is. But I picked it up because why the hell, you're a cold person. Overwhelming Presence was the free one. And even that one, you may think, oh, well, this one will allow you to do it. Nope, same deal. So again, because it would temporarily bring it to level 10, the game will not allow that. But it's okay. Summon Monster, 9, because why not? Energy Drain, sure. You're not great at race spells, but they're all touch attacks. And by the time you pick this up, your BAB is solid enough that you're probably hitting more likely than not with Energy Drain. And you see that I have the double upgraded version of Humble Strike. So I have Humble Strike at level 7, 8, and 9. Because again, why not? If you have the potential to do so, slot them up. You may never use it, but you know that if you have a level 9 spell, what do I have access to? Pop open your little book and say, oh, I'm low on spells and I could really do some damage. Or, oh, here's a level 9 spell I could totally use at range. Why not use that one? Okay, and that's why we do this. So again, solid stuff. I don't need to show you the build per se. You've seen this a dozen times before, but just to show you a quick demonstration of your cold spells. We will throw some buffs on ourselves. The Divine Favor, enhanced version, extended version, excuse me. Takes a full round to cast it. Weapon of Awe. This armor. Give myself the extended version of Magical Vestment armor when the shield does not work. Takes a while to cast it. Give yourself some kind of cool wings. How about we give ourselves some white dragon wings? These are the generic 1 minute per caster level ones. You don't see a border, so I'm not using the extended version because really 20 minutes is more than enough. Let's actually just throw on Fine Traps though, just to show it to you. And Divine Power, sure why not. Now, on that, notice our mobility from our wings went up 10 points. Notice that our athletic, and by the way, we're not suffering any penalty from our armor because we have effortless armor on. So mobility's fine, stealth is fine, trickery was never impacted by it, but athletics was penalized from it. That's gone now. And now we see we have an okay athletics stat thanks to Divine Power buff, and then our strength being high. We're not done yet. Notice that our mobility is decent, not stellar. And what was the other one? Persuasion? Oh, you won't see the persuasion bonus because it's only for intimidation stuff. So that's not going to help you just yet. Perception. Oh, bummer. I was really hoping we'd get that plus 10 from the Fine Traps. So apparently it's being overshadowed by one of your bonuses here. More likely than not, I'm guessing that's for Tinkering, the plus 10. So Fine Traps would be a wasted spell pick then if that's the case. Which is kind of a drag. But again, we got it for free, so that just means I just swap out that spell for something better. But again, it's not, game breaking. What level was that though, just so I know? Yeah, level 2. And there's probably not a whole lot of level 2 stuff that you wanted, quite frankly, so I'd still probably pick it up. But moving on, for buffs, we have other stuff. What else would we cast on ourselves? We'd probably do some Dragon Form. Let's show you the Dragon Kind ability here. Notice the 10 minutes per level. If I did Dragon Kind 1, it'd be an hour per level. Again, I don't know why you'd do the lesser version. I'm happy to do this one. And the white dragons do look pretty baller, I must say. A big ass friggin' bad boy right there is what he is. Just such a bad boy. Look at his little halo on his neck like a little goddamn choker. Alright, anywho. that's that. First, before we add more to it, so just to show you the strength bonus you're getting from being Dragonkind 3, plus 10. Dex bonus on that, no, or penalty, is actually what I was really looking for. Con bonus, plus 8. Notice how it's stacking with all the stuff you have. Armor bonus, it went down considerably because you're not wearing your armor anymore. Remember, we talked about this. Braces of armor class would have been better, now we can't put them on. So again, you're going to want to do a mage armor on yourself. I think we probably have some here that can do that for us, but if not, I'll just do it myself as a level 1 lesser miracle. Why the lesser miracle? Because it'll give me the same spell and it doesn't cost diamond dust, quite frankly. Let's see, it's going to be under abjuration. No, it's conjuration, right? Yeah, there it is. Okay, so now we have mage armor on for 20 hours. And again, it's not amazing. It's only plus 4, but it's better than a plus 0. So it's a solid upgrade. From here, you would also cast something like either Legendary Proportions on yourself, which you know is a good one. We don't have to, since we have access to Frightful Aspect. There's reasons to want both, but you don't have to have both. I'll happily cast a Shield of Law, but I'll do the upgraded version of it, since it lasts longer that way. Remember, that's a round per caster level. This one's a minute. So that's why I didn't have to do the bigger version. And that's more than enough to get into the room and do some stuff. You don't look so big now, do you, big guy? Suck it, lizard. Alright, so let's, first of all, let's show you the Dragon's Breath, probably be the way. So the breath weapon, free. Remember, there's 2 versions of this. First, I'm going to come over here and help him out by casting some Skeletors. Just to have something flank from you while I get in position. But they're also immune to cold, which is to our benefit. Or they should be, at least. Now, notice we have 2 different types of Dragon's Breath. Okay, so we have ours. That's the one we picked up as a breath weapon as our supernatural ability. Notice that there's this one here that's the supernatural ability that came from this form. So make sure you're casting the right one. Notice, of course, we still have our Cone of Cold. Once a day use from our hat. We have our ASMR ability to summon pets as the Summon Nature's Ally level 3. We have freedom of movement that came from something. And drain came from my cloak. Definitely displays off what power attack is still on. Okay, so let's do the Dragon's Breath. That's the one that I picked up as a revelation. Okay. 10d6, 40 damage. Not amazing. In fact, I actually thought it was supposed to be 20d6, so that's kind of a bummer. It says per sorcerer level, so that's a clear lie. Okay, well now we learned. It wasn't because they saving throw it or anything. No, because they failed it. So it really is 10d6 of cold damage, and that sucks. And because, again, that's a supernatural ability, not a spell, our hat that gives us cold damage didn't buff it. Our necklace that gave us extra cold damage didn't buff it. And, of course, the fact that we had Blood Rager, Blood Havoc trait didn't give us extra damage to buff it. So it's the flat ability. Now let's actually go around and try the other one that came innate to this form. The one that we turned into. So let's add this delay to here. Nope. Skeletons this way. By the way, if you saw the zeros pop up, that's because of the skeletons that are immune to cold. Okay, so now let's use this one. So this was the one we were using. I think this is our next one. This is from this form. It's probably going to be more of the same. Actually, it's bigger though. Oh my god. 12d8 damage, so it does different damage. So there's that. That's cool. And again, that's because of the dragon form, and I'm happy with that. So at the very least, that's something. Still a supernatural ability though, so it doesn't give us any extra damage beyond the 12d8. But I'll take 12d8 over 10d6 any day. That's not bad. From here, I do want to show you, of course, Presence of the Dragons effect to try to intimidate these guys. Jim Skeletor. You grab it. So this is, again, your clickable ability. Multiple rounds a day we can actually activate this. Again, this is a supernatural ability that came from our Revelations, the Presence of the Dragons. Notice that there is a swift action. Also, hover over it. Notice that it's teammate friendly. And it's a swift action, so it did it already. Notice failed will save, failed will save. So basically these guys are shaken. And again, you can kind of make it out on them. They have that little shimmer to their body. That's the shaking in their booties, so to speak. So then from there, literally everything I should be doing should be shatter defenses. We still have power attack on. Just because we're in a different form doesn't mean anything has changed as far as our feats is concerned. So take a look at that now. Flat-footed. That's how you know that it worked. And again, just mow through 7 different attacks around. And again, we can buff up with other stuff. We can buff up with Sense Vitals again, thanks to our Limited Wish or our Lesser Miracle. It's available to both of them. So obviously Lesser Miracle will be the one I'd use, but it's not the point. It's a solid upgrade. And by the way, I did test our spells with Meta Magic Rods to see if, for example, if I cast a shield spell from here, if I'm using a Meta Magic Rod to extend it, it will work. If you just leave the rod running and you pick your spell and it will buff it. So there is that. But you have to have a rod to do that. You can't use Meta Magics on it by default because it's not your spell. It's given to you by your god in this particular instance. But again, that does work is my point. Again, that was a nice way to set up a target. At least 5 times a day, lots of targets, last a decent amount of time. That's a long time for 2 to 12 rounds for you to set up Corrigan Smash, shatter defenses, and just beat the shit out of targets. And again, we're hitting for solid damage. Again, for the size that we are, that plus 17, I was honestly expecting to do way more than that. What was that? Lame. Oh, was that lame attack? That's probably lame. There we go, 31. That's what I was expecting. Tail Smack, and then of course our claw attacks with a solid 31 of those. Notice that they have damage reduction, only a point. So that's a bummer, but nothing I can do about that. We're hitting hard, and again, just to show you some stuff because it doesn't have it in the tooltip. So if you look at your form, not only do you get your strength bonus and your con bonus and your natural armor bonus plus 8, no less. Remember, that's natural armor, not natural armor enhancement. That means it stacks. So we have Draconic Resistance plus 4, Frightful Aspect plus 6, plus 8 from Dragonkind 3, and then of course my Manticore Skin Boots, that's the natural armor enhancement that will not stack with other enhancements. So if I cast, say, Bark Skin on myself, which I can still do, I can get it all the way up to a plus 5 instead of the plus 4, but then my Manticore Skin Boots aren't being used. It's still another plus 1 to my armor, so it's still a good call, but I still have other spells I could have cast on myself that would put my armor up way higher than this 57. I could be in the 60s, low 60s, but no problem. And again, that's in a weird-ass form, no less. Now imagine that when you actually cast those spells, not this one, but the other spells on you, and you still have your armor, because this plus 8's nice, but the armor I had was nicer than that. So again, potato, which one do you like more? Hell, it has a built-in Frightful Presence, DC equal to the DC of your spell, so either that, maybe it's an innate ability. I didn't want to even look. Must be an innate aura centered on you as the dragon form. Because Frightful Aspect and Frightful Presence are 2 different things. Oh, there it is. Yeah, permanent effect. So basically I'm already scaring them in this form, which is freaking awesome. And I should, quite frankly, because I'm a goddamn giant-ass dragon. But again, other stuff that's associated with it that I don't tell you about. Like, for example, your Blind Senses, Immunity to Difficult Terrain, your DR10/Magic, so magic weapons penetrate it, but if they're not magic, you have some protection. Immunity to Cold, all the different attacks you get. And again, you can use your breath weapon as often as you like, but must wait between rounds, just like with the other breath weapon that we have. So, cool, right? So, part of the plan. But still a nice upgrade, in my opinion. And again, if I wanted better saves, cast that other Bestow Grace of the Champion on your spell. It's a solid upgrade. Again, you're lawful good. As long as you're lawful good, you can cast it on yourself and no problem. Massive plus 13 to to all 3 of these. That's a 37 fortitude check. That's a 30 reflex save. And that's a 29, 32 will save. That's a solid character. And again, we have stuff on us that are protecting us. Thanks to Shield of Law. It doesn't last long, but it's a solid upgrade. with the spells that you'll have, you'll be definitely tanking like no one's business. You'll have all the persuasion and perception that you could possibly want to pilfer through the land. You still need a team with you is the only real downside. But with that, that's all I need to show you. Well, actually, let's go back to another quick spot, just in case. It's hard to tell with the dragon form on if there's something else that I wanted to show you. I want to look at my abilities, make sure there's not something else I want to click.
Together we stand.
Well, first off, let's not get crazy here. Okay. Bare minimum protection kind of stuff is what I'm doing here right now. Those came from here. I suppose I could show you what's it called? The extra damage thanks to the blood havoc trait that I picked up. The cheat that I told you that you probably shouldn't grab. See, how would I do that? It has to be a non... Oh, I know. Actually, I don't know. Hold on. Can't be a cold spell. I don't want it to be a fire or electric spell. Do I not have... Oh, Bone Shaker. Bone Shaker, Bone Shatter. There we go. Okay. So we come in here. We'll activate Bone Shatter or Bone Shaker on. And again, it should work, ideally. Put that to there. Give me some skeletons. Go get 'em, boys. I believe in you. I must admit, I'm not completely enamored with the Asimir build because of the free pets. Was a nice idea. I just wanted to test it out more than anything else. But the blood havoc ability. So again, the damage that I should be doing here. Let's see if I need a stutter step for this. Yeah, I should get damage extra for that one. Yeah, 15d6 plus 1. Wow. Oh, damn it. I forgot to take the Rod of Flaming Vengeance off. It did fire damage. Because it's doing fire damage, it's giving me extra damage because it's treating this as a fire. And of course, that blood havoc is kicking in. I want to do it without the fire bonuses kicking in.
Together we stand.
There we go. Cancel. Matter of fact, do this.
I will see this through.
Since I'm only just going to be casting one spell to prove this to you. With the Rod of Vengeance, Fiery Vengeance off of us, we literally will cast like normal. So it's normal damage. That's really what I want to show you. I want to show you that you get at least a +1 buff to all your dice rolls because of that one trick. Again, that's for any damaging spell. So again, that's why Bone Shaker, Bone Shatter was a good call, because it wasn't supposed to be elemental damage. And if it works like it should, instead of it seeing as a 15d6 plus 30, it should be 15d6 plus 15 if I'm not mistaken. So, it is here. Here we go. That Vivis. Yeah, 15d6 plus 15. The 15's coming from the trait. Any damaging spell you cast gets an extra point of damage per die. So 15 die, nice, 15 extra damage. And that's nice. So again, that's really kind of soups up your character for damage output. Again, honestly, if I were to pick one more time, just to reiterate another point, for the 2 meta matches that I picked, if I were to repick these, since you only get like 3 cold spells, and I can't meta magic spells that I make from the limited wish or the limited or the lesser miracle, whatever the hell it's called, since I can't meta magic those with this, I would not pick this again. I would pick Intensify, because many of our damaging spells could go from 10d6 to 15d6, 15d6 to 20d6, and again, with the kind of gear that you're putting on your character, again, just to show you the spell, Snowball could go from 5d6 to 10d6, plus 1 for the hat, 1 for the necklace, and 1 from the trait that I picked up. So that could be 10d6 plus 30 damage with that spell. So a minimum of 40 damage with a spell that's going to hit, no spell resistance associated, and even if they make their save, it has nothing to do with damage. It has everything to do with whether they're staggered or not. That's a solid spell. Then The next cold spell that you're going to have access to is going to be way the hell down here, called Cold Ice Strike. Again, solid spell, 15d6. If you intensified that, though, that could be 20d6. And again, with the hat, the blood trait, and the amulet that we're wearing, that could be 20d6 plus 60. So a minimum of 80, much, much higher on the upper swing of it, obviously. And then the other one, Umbral Strike, it should work on. Matter of fact, we can actually test that to prove it to ourselves that it does work as proper. Because that says it works, doesn't mean it does. I've been fooled before. I always think that Umbral Strike is a cold spell per se. It just doesn't have this cold spell descriptor. And that's the point. Leave her alone, big meanie. Alright. 5 foot stutter step. I'm going to cast the... Might as well cast the souped up version. It's going to be a full round of casting. 20d6 plus 20. Okay, so it's only counting one part of that. So it really isn't counting it as a cold spell. Because the hat and the amulet would be a plus 40. You understand that? It'd be 20d6 plus 20 plus 20 plus another 20 would be what I was hoping for. So a plus 60 here. It did not do that. It did 20d6 plus 20. So the plus 20 has to be coming from the trait that we have. And again, that's nice though, that at least the trait's benefiting this spell. So again, it's not considered a cold spell for purposes of buffing it. But that's still extra negative damage and extra cold damage. So again, that trait is pretty powerful. And again, just to show you where that's at, for those of you that were zipping through this video, remember that was from one of our traits here. It's under custom trait cheat. Literally, that's how he labeled it, the guy that made this mod, or she. And it's under Blood Havoc damage bonus. Again, whenever you cast a Blood Rager or Sorcerer spell that deals damage, and again, I think that actually is important too, it has to be a spell from those guys' list. +1 damage per die roll. I don't know that for a fact, and the only way for me to test that would be to find a spell that we have that does damage. Maybe if I did the Lesser Miracle, that might try it. Something, I'm thinking of something that the cleric would have access to, but the sorcerer would not. Flame Strike might be. Let's give that a go. Undead, you need a 5 foot stutter step away from this and bring out some pets, bro. They're kicking your ass, son. They're kicking your ass. Notice that I did blind my target though with that Umbral Strike to the face. That's what that big black swirl around their eyes was about. So that's pretty cool. Come on. Stay on a turn. Alright, so we need a damaging spell that's not something a wizard would have access to normally. So Searing Light. 5d8 plus 5. The plus 5, it's divine damage no less, not fire. And so our amulet doesn't work on it. Our hat doesn't work on it. Our ring for acid damage doesn't work on it. So the 5 is coming from Blood Havoc. So it does work on all damage spells. Okay, good. But that's all I really wanted to show you guys. It's a solid build. Again, good armor. Just to show you the armor that I picked for this build. I went with the Mail of Clear Skies because it's a decent dexterity bonus to it, +5. It's considered light armor. And it really is considered light armor, by the way. For any character that only has the ability to wear light armor. I know it says medium. This actually is true. It is so light that it's actually considered light armor for purposes of being able to wear it. Which is kind of nice that they actually did that. I always thought that was the case with like Mithril. So for example, if I had skill in, like this character, for light and medium armor, but I had Mithril full plate that I had found, as a DM we always ruled that that's considered medium armor. It's one category less because it's so light. So you can wear that. So you have training in it because you have training in medium armor. So that's what this one does, is the things that we always did in pen and paper. So it's kind of cool. Notice that that's a solid bonus to armor, no less, is the other reason here for wanting this. Again, this is why I say this is better than the Braces of Armor class. But again, an 8 versus an 11, yeah, you'll feel it. But a 0 versus 11, when you turn into the dragon form, you'll feel that more. That's why you really want to cast like at least mage armor on yourself. Thank God you can cast spells while you're in dragon form. You just can't drink potions and cast scrolls. Having said that, there is one other armor that I did toy around. See if I kept it. Probably based on weight to be easier to find it. No, not Second Skin. Not Gentle Persuasion. Gotta be one of these ones. No, it's full plate. Here it is, Celestial Armor. This one was a viable option too. Why? This one gave me the +5 I needed for dexterity, and as you can see, I'm already at that +5. That's no problem. If you had other spells or gear or whatever that somehow put you up above the +5, you would lose out on some extra armor as a result of that, because +5 is the max you can have. This one had a max of 8. Now, yeah, you only get a 9 to your armor, but again, a 9 and an 8, if you manage to get to a max dex of 8, add those together, that's 17, right? Well, what's the maximum on this one? 11 and 5, 16. This one would be better armor, okay? It is medium armor. It really is medium armor, though. But it's extremely light and blah, blah, blah. But you would think this would be another one of those that is like, oh, this is medium armor, but it's so light that it's considered light armor. No, it doesn't actually have that. But it does have an arcane spell failure that's really, really low, too, for literally what it is. This is chainmail. Should be something like that's like a +40 or some shit. So being the fact that it's like a 15%, that's a real big boon for most caster types. So this is a solid, solid upgrade again, too. Especially for a dex-based build. Not the best. The best one for a dex-based build that I have found was the Royal Guardian armor. That's the one that can have allows up to a full 15 max dexterity. That's freaking huge. Now the armor itself is a piece of piss because it's like +4, +5 studded leather, which means you have an armor class for like 8. It's like, ooh, that's like plate mail, just normal plate mail. But again, if you have fixed 15 dexterity to add on top of that, hell yeah, that's totally worth equipping. So again, kind of on you on these ones. But again, I thought that was fun. And again, remember, there's a variety of shields. Just because we have a variety of longswords doesn't mean you don't want to shield it up. And again, just to show you the damage difference, the 30 versus the, what was it, 120 or 22. Again, 2 weapon wielding because there's no shield versus with a shield. So do you need the extra armor, whatever it's providing you? There's some really good shields out there. Here's a fine example of one. Now immune to critical hits. Tell me as the front tank that's not an amazing shield to be touting around. Here's one that makes you immune to paralysis effect and allows you to cast Greater Shout twice a day, well 3 times a day. Again, pretty cool stuff. So again, I do like the shields. I rarely get a chance to use them. It feels like a cleric type build when you get to wear a sword and board and run into battle, or a mace and a board, and just have fun with it. But I think you'll enjoy this one just like the other ones. Now this completes all the oracles, except, of course, for the last one, which again I'm still going to do. The last one, again, is going to be the time mystery one. You have to be an ancient lore keeper to do that, and again, you have to be an elf to do that. I'm going to make it an undead elf with a 1-level scaled fist monk dip. Probably at level 1 or level 2 we'll do that dip. So I'll be the last video I make for you on the oracle, and quite frankly, that would be my favorite. Whether it's a mercenary or your main character, that's going to be a tough sum B. It's going to be almost impossible to hit, and when you do hit it, it'll have the ability to heal itself and damage you all in the same combat round of just massive AoE damage / heal with her inflict spells. It's going to be mean, and you're really going to like that one, I think, the best. Everyone's different though, so again, if this is your cup of tea, or if you like the life mystery one that I posted earlier today, run with that. You'll enjoy all of them. They're very solid builds. The fact that you have access to level 9 spells is a big, big part of that. But with that, my name's Brother Mew. Please like, subscribe, comment down below. Tell me what you think of this build. I'll see you guys soon. Bye now.